proud sponsor of Omega Radio. Stay tuned right here. You can be joined in with the Creative Space with Catherine Shapiro every Wednesday at 11 a.m.
Babe, I'm so ashamed. I am beautiful, beautiful.
Tune in and listen. Creative Space on Omega Radio every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Your host, Catherine Shapiro. Good morning, all. This is your host with the most, Catherine Shapiro, in the Creative Space. I am here today to tell you that being creative is not always easy. Matisse used to say that creativity took courage. Einstein used to say that creativity was intelligence having fun. I'm kind of in the middle of that. We know after years of experience of trying to become and work as artists that you have to be three things. You have to be determined, you have to be very flexible, and you have to be patient and persistent. It got me to thinking, co-hosting with my wonderful friend Gabriella Esquivel the other day. The musician she was speaking to said that passion excites determination. It requires discipline. It increases your passion when you are disciplined and persistent enough to acquire the skill that it takes to become an artist. It takes 5 minutes in the morning every day for me to sketch something. Doesn't even matter. Could be a strawberry or could be writing a grocery list. Ernest Hemingway used to show up in his study, no matter how inspired he was, every morning at 5:30, rain or shine, didn't matter. Because he knew that if he showed up, inspiration would be quick to follow. And I am personally of the opinion, and you can call me on this if you like. In fact, our number is 954-900-4310 if you're a local. And there is a toll-free number also. You can call me if you want, if you like, but I can tell you talent is a myth. Talent is interest in nothing more. Talent may get you noticed for a while, and it'll only get you so far. Sheer persistence, passion, and determination get you the rest of the way, and everybody who is good at their craft will tell you that if you ask them. It was an interesting conversation because one of the other things that I discovered was that some musicians, and musicians are very mysterious to me, and I'm not quite sure why, so I always enjoy interviewing them. They say two things. They say they were surrounded by music for their entire life. They also say that a lot of their relatives were musicians. I didn't know this prior to 2 years ago, but my mother was an artist and a doll maker. You can find out a lot of wonderful things on Ancestry.com, and you can share with your ancestors, and they can share with you all kinds of wonderful information that you may not have gotten any other way. And there are so many family stories out there about artists that need to be told. Like I said, one of the things that they all have in common is that they were surrounded by the one thing they turned out to be for their whole life. Their mothers were musicians, or they sang in the kitchen. Their fathers were mathematicians, and math is a form of art, believe me. My experience with math didn't quite catch on until college, practically. And you will find that when it comes to a lot of your artistic pursuits, too. Sometimes skill takes years. You can be You can receive a message from that creative divine impulse all at once, or in little bitty pieces that take you a while to assemble. Musicians are interesting in that some of them do lyrics, they're songwriters. Some of them do music, they're musicians. Some have learned how to read music over the years. Some never did. Some do what you call sight read. Basically, read maybe the way the music goes on the staff. They know the notes, but they can sight read the music. Some do what you call play by ear, and that's how they learned. That's how I learned how to sing. Until recently, I didn't know how to read music, and I've been very fortunate to have a terrific piano teacher who I'd love to give a shout out today, Rabbi Risa Askin. I just love her to death. She was a guest on my show last year. And all our thoughts and prayers go out to this wonderful lady who's taught me how to play piano, kept my voice in good trim, and has had a lot of wonderful, wonderful benefits for this whole community that I cannot even go into. I don't have enough time, but I did want to say I was thinking of her. If you have a terrific music teacher, since this is the go back to school week for a lot of you, give her a shout out. Give us a call. Chat on Facebook. All you got to do is find us under Omega Radio, and you can chat with me right now, live on the station, at the station in Coral Springs. We are WOIB 101.9 FM, Omega Radio, and we are in the creative space. I'm your host, Catherine Shapiro. I'm a mixed media artist, a longtime Coral Springs resident, and a very, very happily engaged creative person in the one thing I love to do, which is create and make art. They say that you should create something new every day. Like I said, it doesn't have to be big. Could be a grocery list. Could be a little picture for your kids, or a little story you tell your elderly parent or your grandmother, or she tells you. Write that stuff down because it's important. There's a whole new genre of art called journaling, where you keep track of your life or tell a story based on what they call ephemera, leftover paper objects like photos, ribbons, found objects. My art is very much collage based. So I used a lot of this stuff all the time. I've got old World War II letters from soldiers to their girlfriends. There are so many stories out there that you can tell through your art. If you are a cook, you tell your stories through recipes. I've been hearing lately a lot of great stories about people who emigrated from all over the world, bringing their recipes to America, finding out about their roots through the food. And speaking of roots, we are all from somewhere. Engage in your art. Be a messenger for your family, for your culture, for your faith, for your world. Did you know King David was a musician? One of the ways he gained attention of King Saul at the time was he could play the lute, and he could play it very, very well. It looks a little like a harp, but not quite. Kind of a smaller version that you can hold in your lap, and you play with, sometimes with picks, sometimes with your fingers. And King Saul would have what they used to call fits of melancholy. And David would calm him down with the music. It was like soothing the savage beast. He would say his prayers through music. a lot of what is in Psalms and in certain parts of the Bible is listed as written by David. David and Moses, as far as I know, were the only two people that we know absolutely for sure how the Bible was transmitted and put on paper, because it said very directly that these portions are written by David and told, and God said to Moses in the words on the page. So you can say with definite reliability that there are musicians and artists of all kinds in the Bible as well. There are dancers, there are singers. Miriam stood on the edge of the Red Sea after being chased by Egypt and rescued by God, and sang and played the tambourine. She and the women danced all night long. She used what was called a timbrel, which very much is like a tambourine or a drum. You still see them in parts of Africa and Asia. They're beautifully painted, sometimes with grass, with reeds woven to create that big surface that the people will use their hands or drumsticks and play on. I am one of the most curious people in the world. I gotta tell you, I'm curious about everything, and I'll look it up when I don't know it. If you have a question, any question regarding arts-based music, programs in the area, if you'd like to promote an event, give us a heads up. Let us know. Omega Radio is a fully functional, wonderful staff and group of broadcasters who will help you publicize and sometimes live broadcast if you would like. Just let us know. Your event will come to you. If you know someone who has been recently affected by the strange weather we've been having, I've had artists call me saying their studios have been flooded and they're still cleaning up. Do please let us know. We would love to help you in any way that we can. I am glad to be a sponsor of Omega Radio. And in the time that I've been here, I did a count the other day. We've had something like 30 guest artists. We've had musicians. We've had magicians. We've had dancers. We've had singers. I have been so privileged to meet some of the greatest visual artists on the planet. Sheila Elias, artist from the University of Chicago. She was a wonderful lady who gave me a great tour of her studio, which is, by the way, she's also cleaning up. She was flooded out in that strange weather we had last month. So I hope Sheila's doing okay and she'll check in with us. If you want to check in, the number is 954-900-4310. I am, as always, indebted to you because all of my best stories come from you. And Omega Radio is too. In the last 2 minutes that we have, I want to let you know that we are listener supported. We rely on the seeds that you plant every day to bring you our creative programming, spiritually guided segments, talk from teens, wonderful real talk from Bishop Manning. So, we need you, and if you love us, support Omega Radio. I will be here next week, Wednesday at 11 a.m., never fails. And in the meantime, please, let's be kind to each other.
So ashamed.
listen, Creative Space on Omega Radio every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Your host, Catherine Shapiro.
I want to thank you for tuning into the Creative Space with your host, Catherine Shapiro. That's right, your host and the mostest, Catherine Shapiro, right here on the Station of the Stars. You can catch the Creative Space here on Omega Radio every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Keep it locked in and don't touch that dial. We got more coming your way. Stay tuned for Lady Marian here on Omega Radio.
It's given me, and I know who I am. We are the chosen generation.